Terms. You decide 2014 continues.
You Decide 2014 continues. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Along with J.D. Hayworth, I'm Ed Berliner. We continue to watch the numbers as they move west. But now it's time to get not just one former congressman's perspective, but now we go for two at a time.
You know, Ed, it's tough to believe it was 20 years ago this week that our next guest and I were elected to the Congress of the United States. So pleased to have with us at the anchor desk former United States Congressman Mark Foley of Florida. Mark served the people of West Palm Beach and its environs for over a decade in Washington. Mark, it is good to have you here with us tonight, and let me get your expertise on Florida politics. This race, Rick Scott, Charlie Crist, it's as close as the predictions, but John Zogby was telling us that Charlie Crist had opened up a lead. You're taking the final analysis.
Well, on this set last week, you and I both said it's going to be like 2000. It's going to be tight. We're within 1% right now as the election stands. Few votes left to be counted. I think this will go into tomorrow. We'll have to look at every precinct, every county. Crist already tried a challenge in Broward on late voting or trying to get the polls to remain open. It's a Donnybrook. It's the most expensive election in Florida's history and the most obnoxious.
And so neither candidate, should they finish second, will go gently into that good night. You are expecting shades of 2000, the presidential race, to be made manifest in this 2014 gubernatorial contest.
Well, I thought Scott would win, and I still believe that to be true, but we're waiting for Broward County. Broward County's heavily Democrat. Until those results are in and all of the panhandle, then we won't know the final mechanics. But I still suggest, right now it's under 100,000 separating the two. I think it's going to get closer. Probably be 40,000 vote win. I said it the other day, it'll be by a whisker. That's my prediction tonight.
Not even half a whisker, a full whisker.
It's a full whisker.
Okay, fair enough.
But nothing surprises you about Florida politics at this
how
point.
could it?
Let's be fair to that, all right?
Ed, how could it? I mean, we are a state hanging chads, late night contests, Al Gore challenging into December the outcome of 2000, tipped slightly to Bush. Bush, of course, 8-year presidency. And now we have the Clintons back in Florida campaigning for others. So it's a wild state. It will be a purple state. But tonight is a good night for Scott if it continues.
If you live in Florida, never say the phrase hanging chads again. Please don't ever do that. I mean, people there are still living the nightmare to this day, and you know that as well as I do. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, let's go ahead and move on now, because in New York we have political journalist John Fund joining us. Also, let us bring in internationally renowned pollster and political analyst John Zogby, who joins us live from Washington, D.C. Gentlemen, let's go ahead and see where we're at right now from your perspectives. I'll tell you what, John Fund, let's start with you first in New York. What you have seen and where we are right now heading into the late evening hours.
Over the country, they certainly have been. Many of these are going to go into the early morning. The Republicans are winning the lion's share of them, but by no means all of them. And the Scott Brown loss in New Hampshire being a particular disappointment. We're going to have to wait a long time on North Carolina and Virginia. I think it's clear the Republicans have won control of the U.S. Senate. The question now is, will they win enough seats? It probably starts at around 53 out of 100 seats, that they are going to be having a good chance of keeping the Senate in 2016, when so many more Republican seats will be up and Democrats will be out for revenge. So if the Republicans really don't want to hold the Senate in 2016, they're probably going to have to get up to around 53 or more seats.
All right, let's go ahead and turn to John Zogby right now. John, what are you seeing as far as the numbers?
Well, you know, very, very close races. New Hampshire, you know, was very critical, you know, as far as the Democrats are concerned, although they're losing control. There's no question about it. And it's only a question now of just how many, if in fact the Republicans do get to those 53 seats or 52 seats that John Fund is talking about. Ed Gillespie, well ahead of expectations, but you know, so much of Fairfax County has still not been counted, heavily Democratic. That race right now is down to a few hundred votes, and it looks to me like Mark Warner holds that. I don't know that we're going to know the answer to North Carolina tonight. Colorado is very interesting. It looks like The Republican there is leading by 5 or 6 points. Whatever comes in late from the Democratic areas, and there's still a lot of Democratic areas that haven't been counted, I don't think are going to offset that. It looks like Mark Udall probably, I'll hedge a little bit, but probably goes down.
Well, let's take a look at the R word. We talked about it with Mark Foley in terms of what is going on in the Florida gubernatorial race. What you've just outlined for us in Virginia, even with the Fairfax County vote waiting to come in, sounds like we could be seeing a recount there in the Commonwealth of Virginia in this Senate race between Ed Gillespie and Mark Warner, does it not?
Sure. I mean, anything that, I do think Mark Warner outpolls Ed Gillespie tonight, and the pollsters were dead wrong in that race. Just as we pollsters, including me, were wrong with Cuccinelli and Terry McAuliffe a couple of years ago. So Virginia is getting very, very difficult to poll. But yeah, there'll probably be a recount because it is very close, and in Florida as well. That race will tighten up because we got a bit of Broward County that has not been counted yet. We have 3% of Dade County, heavily Democratic, hasn't been counted yet. So we're down to about 79,000 votes separating Christ and Scott in Scott's favor.
We're going to have to stop you right there for a moment, John. We're running up right up against a hard break. John Zogby, John Fund, stick around. We'll get to you again as the evening goes on. Still ahead, Dick Morris brings us his take as we continue right here on You Decide 2014.
The midterms, You Decide 2014, will be back in just a moment.